The ancient world remembers many wars, but none echo like the clash between Persia and Greece. A rivalry born not from hatred, but from fear, ambition, pride, and the collision of two worlds that could never coexist. Most people think they know this story. They think it was a simple fight, the mighty Persian Empire against a handful of brave Greek warriors. A tale of freedom versus tyranny, light versus darkness, good versus evil. But history rarely plays by such simple rules. What you are about to hear is the untold truth, a story of political games, betrayals, hidden motives, impossible decisions, and the brutal reality behind the legends. This is the real story behind the rivalry of Persia and Greece, long before the battles that made them famous. Persia and Greece lived in two separate universes. Persia was an empire built on order, a machine of power stretching from the deserts of Egypt to the mountains of Afghanistan. Gold flowed through its roads. Nations bent to its authority. And at the center sat the King of Kings, a man whose word was law across 3 continents. Greece, however, was chaos. Not one land, not one kingdom, but hundreds of city-states, each proud, stubborn, and hungry for influence. Athens, Sparta, Corinth, Thebes. They shared a language, but not a leader, a culture, but not a purpose. They fought each other more than they fought outsiders. 2 worlds, 2 philosophies, 2 destinies, one inevitable collision. No war starts without a spark, and the spark came from a strip of land along the coast of modern Turkey, Ionia. These were Greek cities living under Persian rule. Persia allowed them to live, trade, and prosper. But the Greeks of Ionia were Greeks. They wanted autonomy. They wanted their own decisions. They wanted freedom, the kind Persia could not allow. In 499 BC, the Ionians rebelled. They set fire to Persian cities. They declared independence, and Persia responded with fury. But one Greek city-state made a fatal choice. Athens sent ships to support the rebels. This one act would ignite a war that would burn for decades. When Persia crushed the rebellion, King Darius the Great spoke a single sentence that shook the ancient world. "Who are the Athenians?" A question, but also a promise of revenge. He ordered a slave to whisper in his ear every day, "Master, remember the Athenians." And the King of Kings remembered. In 490 BC, the Persian Empire moved. Thousands of soldiers, archers, cavalry, infantry, sailed across the Aegean Sea. Their destination? Marathon. The Greeks panicked, except for one city, Athens. Outnumbered, without allies, they marched to Marathon and prepared for death. But what happened next stunned the world. The Athenians attacked first. They sprinted into battle, smashing Persia's formations, shocking the disciplined imperial troops. When the dust cleared, Persia was defeated. The world believed it was a miracle. But they were wrong. Persia had used only a fraction of its power. The empire had barely begun to fight. The King of Kings would not forgive, and his son would not forget. 10 years later, a new ruler sat on the Persian throne, Xerxes, the son of Darius. Where his father was calculated, Xerxes was intense, ambitious, and burning with a single goal: erase Greece. He assembled the greatest army ever seen. A river of soldiers poured across the empire, from Egypt, Babylon, Phoenicia, Lydia, Bactria, and beyond. More than 200,000 men, thousands of ships, nations united under one crown. This was not a military expedition. It was a storm meant to destroy Greek identity forever. To enter Greece, Persia had to pass through a narrow mountain road, Thermopylae, and waiting there was a man who understood destiny, a man who chose death long before the battle began. Leonidas, king of Sparta. With 300 Spartans and a few thousand Greek allies, he stood against an empire. The battle was brutal. The Greeks fought like lions. Persia attacked in endless waves. For 2 days, Leonidas held the gate. For 2 days, Greece survived, because one man refused to kneel. But betrayal sealed their fate. A traitor revealed a hidden path. Persia surrounded the Greeks. Leonidas knew the end had come. Instead of surrender, he removed his helmet, dropped his shield, and walked into immortality. When the final spear fell, Thermopylae was lost. But something else was born. A story that would inspire Greece to fight with everything it had left. With the gate broken, Persia marched deeper into Greece. Athens was evacuated. Women, children, and elders fled. The city was abandoned. Xerxes entered Athens unopposed, and history says he burned it to the ground. Temples turned to ash. Homes collapsed. One of the greatest cities of the ancient world was reduced to smoke. For the Greeks, this was not just war. This was annihilation. They knew that if Persia won, Greek culture, freedom, philosophy, everything they were would vanish forever. And that fear turned into rage. The Greek navy retreated to a narrow strait near the island of Salamis. Persia's fleet followed, hundreds of massive warships, confident and overwhelming. But the Greeks had a secret. The channel was too narrow. Persia's powerful fleet could not maneuver. Their numbers became a disadvantage. At dawn, the Greek commander Themistocles launched his gamble. Greek ships charged, fast, precise, deadly. The sea shook as Persian ships collided, crushed, and burned. Xerxes watched from a golden throne as his navy, the pride of his empire, was shattered before his eyes. Salamis was not just a battle. It was the turning point. With no fleet to supply them, Persia had no choice but to retreat. After the wars, Greece celebrated. Poets wrote songs, heroes were born, legends were carved into stone. But the truth, the real truth, was far more complicated. Persia was not destroyed. The empire remained the richest and most powerful in the world for another 150 years. Persia did not fall. Greece simply survived. And here is the part most people never hear. Persian gold funded Greek politicians. Greek doctors served in the Persian court. Greek mercenaries fought inside the Persian army. The two civilizations traded, learned, and influenced each other for generations. This was never a story of pure victory. It was a story of two giants learning to live with each other. Until a young Macedonian king named Alexander marched east with a burning desire for revenge. His invasion would rewrite history. But that is another story. Persia and Greece were never meant to coexist. One believed in empire, the other believed in freedom. One sought order, the other sought debate. One bent nations to its rule, the other refused to bend at all. Their rivalry shaped the future of Europe, the Middle East, and the modern world. A rivalry built not on hatred, but on destiny. Because sometimes great civilizations don't choose their enemies. History chooses for them.